It's 6 o'clock and good evening. 6 o'clock in Portland and good evening. And I hope everyone is well. And this evening we are going to be doing part 2 of our Vajrasattva practice. Last week we did part 1, where we learned to visualize Vajrasattva with consort above our head on a beautiful white lotus, and also learning how to bring the nurturing nectar, the white lovely nectar from the heart center of Vajrasattva down through the crown of our head and sweeping through every pore of our body and bringing in the nectar and allowing for whatever no longer needs to be there to be released, and to go very deep in the earth, where of all people the Lord of Death is waiting, who enjoys the negativities that we let go of. So we are nurturing the Lord of Death, who wants to be nurtured with all of our ills and woes and past karmas and so forth. And then we ourselves are coming into that crystal clear, shining body that is no inside, no outside, and is transparent. So again, we'll do that practice this evening. And then, as mentioned in part 1, that we will also go through the dissolving of Vajrasattva into our own hearts and doing a shorter mantra within our own heart centers. So this practice, which is part of Ninjao, is also a practice of what is called creation and completion. So the creation, of course, is our own visualization, the creating of the visualization, and the completion is the dissolving back into our heart centers and back into the space of emptiness. So while this may seem to some like skillful means, to others, Vajrasattva being an aspect of ourselves, really an energy that we can call upon to purify. And what is purification anyway? Purification is a balancing act. Sometimes we realize we've made a mistake. We have maybe hurt somebody unknowingly. We did something that caused harm or pain, and that's something to purify. Sometimes we have no idea. We might feel a pain, we might feel uncomfortable, we might feel agitated, and those kind of feelings may arise from the deep past. It might be the past within this life, it might be the past within lifetimes, all of the karmic marks on our mind. We have the opportunity to do a practice of Vajrasattva for the purpose of purification. And one thing that I really love about the Vajrasattva practice is that it's really more than a letting go. It actually also purifies almost like the traces of past experience. So sometimes we can feel we can feel hurtful things, we can feel the slights either that we have done or other people have done to us, but yet there can be just a trace of something. And Vajrasattva takes care of that, takes care of just almost like within the aura of what is happening. So it's a deep practice. It's also a thorough practice, and it works on all levels. So it works on the physical level, works on the mental level, it works on the emotional level. And when we talk about purification, sometimes it seems like it's hard, or it's an effort, or we should do it. But really, when we look at purification, it's more like looking at a positive parent giving us guidance, a positive parent who is gently reminding us of what is beneficial and what is helpful. So with that, we'll do our aspirations for our practice as we remember that when we do purification, it is for ourselves. It's also what we offer to our world, to our families, to our environment, to our coworkers. So with the aspiration, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. And may all beings always be free from pain and suffering. And the reflection of Shantideva. For as long as space abides, as long as the world remains, just so long may I be there, resolving all beings' pain. And we all make requests for teachings that we will be guided by Vajrasattva. Reflecting in all beings our specific states of mind, greater or lesser, will you please turn our wheel of Dharma now? So as we move into Vajrasattva practice, it's helpful to know that Vajrasattva practice can be done in a group practice. It can be done as individual practice. And once the practice is learned, and again, it's a 100-syllable mantra, and once that 100-syllable mantra is learned, that mantra can be called upon. It can be called upon in times of difficulty. The mantra can be called upon in times of frustration. It can be called upon in times of maybe just being quizzical, not knowing what to do. So the Vajrasattva mantra, although it's known as one of purification, it's one of great benefit, it's nurturing, and it can be done sometimes without the full visualization, just the mantra. And the accumulation of the 100-syllable mantra for the Nundro starts to go more quickly as we learn it, as we memorize it. So when we're practicing individually, sometimes some people really like that. That in and of itself feels nurturing. Other times there is maybe a sense of isolation. Certainly in all of the Asian Buddhist traditions, there were practices of yogis in caves, under a tree, and practicing on their own. And there's also stories in contemporary times where maybe we would like to be practicing with others but cannot. I had a friend who was a student of Aikido for many, many years. And he told me a story that when he first started practicing Aikido, it was on the East Coast in Maryland. And he had a teacher who had very few students. But when my friend went, he was always delighted with that practice. And sometimes my friend couldn't make it to class. And so he asked the teacher, he said, well, what do you do if I'm not here or the other people aren't here? And the teacher said, I do my Aikido anyway. And so he was completely devoted to practice. And then my friend became an Aikido black belt and a very fine Aikido teacher. I know that when I was living in Kyoto, Japan for a year, I would take my children to their kindergarten, and then I would go to a temple, a small temple inside the complex of Daitokuji. And in that temple, it was known that Westerners from the beatnik generation had practiced there. And it turns out that the head monk was a monk that I met when I was practicing Zen in California. So I would go to his temple, and a lot of times there would only be two people practicing, the monk, and his name was Tayun, and myself. And we would be doing the morning practice inside the small temple inside the compound of Daitokuji. And this was quite frequent. And then other times there would be other people that would join in. So there are many times where we might find ourselves as the only student, or we might find ourselves at home alone, and we might want to be practicing with others, but the main point is to always keep up the practice, whether the conditions are ones that we choose and want, or conditions that we may find ourselves in. But to remember that practice is done in a group, it's done individually, and it's done in good times, and it's done in difficult times. And it comes back to the continuity, which those who master practice know is important. So that fits with our Vajrasattva practice, as we want to create this nurturing awareness that we literally are bringing forth. When Vajrasattva arises from our heart center to the crown of our head, that's us. We are generating that. So when they talk about the generation stage, that's us. So we generate the experience of the energy that can help us purify from all past lives, all of the obscurations, all of the hindrances, our personal environment. And it's a great blessing. And that blessing is one that we give to ourselves. And we also give that to those whom we meet, because we are the ones that will be offering our kindness and our compassion, as long as we can clear away our cobwebs and our obstructions and anything from the past. So please join me in the practice of Vajrasattva. And we're going to take it this evening to do creation and completion. So this is from the text that we have talked about using, the Waves of Splendor, that was written just for all of us by Azampelo Rinpoche, so that we as Western people can both do the practice because it has been condensed, and also that we would have time for it, and it would be without elaboration, so that we can sense directly into Vajrasattva. Ah, at my crown on lotus moon, from whom Lama Dorje Sem, white, jeweled, clear with Vajra bell, around whose yabum moon heart whom mantra circles, nectar flows, cleansing ills, harm, faults, and blocks. So above the crown of our head, they say about an arrow's in length. These are from the old days when there were bows and arrows. And so about an arrow's length above the top of our head is going to be this beautiful lotus, the moon disk, Vajrasattva in consort, and then we will chant the Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenupa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Suto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzra Mame Munsa Benzri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pet. We're going to do that 21 times. And this will be a beautiful offering to ourselves and also to our world. And as we do the purification, allowing for that energy to purify our whole environment, the room, our home, the dwelling where we are, and may that completely come through us. So I will say the Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenapa. I will say the mantra 21 times so that those who are just learning do not have to worry about, am I saying it right? Am I doing it right? Please don't worry about that. Just listening. And even if you forget, oh, am I on Samaya? Am I on Tishto? Don't even worry about that. Just feel. This is a feeling experience of the nectar coming from the heart of Vajrasattva down through the crown chakra of ourselves, down through our central channel, through all the pores of our body, coming out the feet. And so just listening, and our practice is attention through the body. Some people know this as sweeping meditation. And we bring the attention through the body as if we're pouring down water, pouring down nectar, and allowing that to wash through us and feeding the Lord of Death. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenupa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Suto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzra Mame Munsa Benzri Bawa Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Pad Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tanapa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Sutokayo Me Bawa Supokayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha Ha Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzri Mame Munsa Benzri Bawa Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Ped Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tanapa Tishto Drado Me Bawa Suto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Aho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzra Mame Munsa Benzri Bawa Samaya Sata Ahum Ped Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tanapa Tishto Drado Me Bawa Suto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzri Mame Munsa Benzri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Ped Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tanapa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Sutokayo Me Bawa Supokayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsame Shridam Shridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzri Mame Munsa Benzri Bhava Mahasamaya Sata Aham Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tanapa Tishto Jada Me Bawa Sutokayo Me Bawa Supakayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Shridam Shridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzri Mame Munsa Benzri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Aham Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tanapa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Sutakayo Me Bawa Supakayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Shridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzri Me Mimunsa Benzri Maha Samaya Sata Ahum Pet Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tanapa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Sutokayo Me Bawa Supokayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Shridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzri Mimi Munsa Benzri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pad Om Benzrasata Samaya Manupalaya Benzrasata Tenapa Tisto Jado Me Bawa Sutokayo Me Bawa Supokayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsame Sridam Shridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzra Mame Munsa Benzri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pad Om Benzra Sata Samaya Manupalaya Benzra Sata Tanapa Tishto Dreda Mebawa Sutokaya Mebawa Supakaya Mebawa Anurakta Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Metrayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsame Shridam Shridam Guru Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzramami Munsa Benzri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pad Om Benzra Sata Samaya Manupalaya Benzra Sata Tanupa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Sutokayo Me Bawa Supokayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Shridam Shridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzra Mame Munsa Benzri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pad Om Benzra Sata Samaya Manupalaya Benzra Sata Tanapa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Sutokayo Me Bawa Supokayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tutsame Sridam Shridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzri Mame Munsa Benzri Ba Hasamaya Sata Ahum Pad Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tanapa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Sutokayo Me Bawa Supokayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsitsame Sridam Shridam Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzri Mame Munsa Benzri Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pet Om Benzra Sata Samaya Manupalaya Benzra Sata Tanapa Tishto Dredo Me Bawa Sutokayo Me Bawa Supokayo Me Bawa Anurakta me bhava, sarva siddhi me trayatsa, sarva karma titsa me, Shridam Kridam Guru Hung, ha 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 ho, Bhagawan, Sarva Tata Gata, Benzri Mame Munsa, Benzri Bhawa Mahasamaya, Sata Ahum Pe. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manu Palaya Vajrasattva Tanapa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Sutto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Shridam Guru Hung Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzri Mame Munsa Benzri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manu Palaya Vajrasattva Tanapa Tisto Drado Me Bawa Sutto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsam Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzri Mame Munsa Benzri Bawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pet Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manu Palaya Vajrasattva Tanapa Tishto Jado Me Bawa Sutto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anurakta Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Trayatsa Sarva Karma Tsutsa Me Sridam Sridam Guru Hung Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Sarva Tata Gata Benzri Mame Munsa Benzri Bhawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pat. And now we feel the positive effect of having the purifying nectar move through our body, move through our environment, creating causes and conditions for deeper wisdom, deeper understanding, and for the blessings. And now begins the dissolution. Dorsem, light melts into me. So from the energy of Vajrasattva, Vajrasattva energy moving into light, the light melting through the crown of our head into our heart. Dorsem light melts into me, beings, Buddhas, worlds, pure lands, all melting through the crown of our head into our hearts, where then we are becoming Vajrasattva, reciting Om Vajrasattva Hung. So we have a blue Hung in our heart. And then around a very tiny moon disk in our heart center, it's said like a little mustard seed, a rounded disc. And with that rounded disc, the Hung in the center is Om Vajra Sattva Hung, circling our heart, blessing our heart, and becoming purified from the inside out. And as we do Om Vajrasattva Hung, if we're following words of my perfect teacher, then our light rays, white, red, blue, green, radiant, begins to purify our atmosphere. And so we do 100 Om Benzra, which is a Tibetan pronunciation of Vajra, Om Vajrasattva Hung. And so this goes very quickly because it's considered one mala. Although a mala has 108 beads, we always count 100. So again, I will repeat Om Vajrasattva Hung. So if that is not a mantra that is familiar at this time, no worries. Just imagine that in each of our heart centers is Om Vajrasattva Hung. So again, on a hung, on the moon disk, within our heart centers, the purification mantra of Om Vajrasattva Hung, and light rays are blessing all beings, our environment, and we ourselves are Vajrasattva. Om Vajrasattva Hung, 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 Om Vajrasattva Hung. We take a moment of clarity, a moment where the body itself is crystal clear, the heart is at rest. And then the further way of dissolving is where all of the attention, the energy within the crystal clear body all comes slowly into the heart center. In the heart center, the Om Vajrasattva Hung dissolve into the Hung at the heart, the blue Hung at the heart, and then the blue Hung at the heart begins to dissolve within itself. And so we take a moment for a very gentle dissolution, And if the question is, well, what dissolves where? Just allowing for that which has been created to come into completion, back into the empty nature of mind, back into the calm, back into a purified mind-body system. However we feel that, again, within the crystal clear body and the mantra at the heart center, and the Om Vajrasattva Hung, begin to dissolve into the Hung, and the Hung begins to dissolve within itself. And we just sit within that experience for a few moments. And again, we allow for the dissolution and the energy of the dissolution to remain within the empty space. And we again reconnect with our mind-body system. And next week, we will put these two parts again together for part 3 of the Vajrasattva practice. In the meantime, it can be wonderful to do the Vajrasattva practice. Once again, for those who may not yet know the 100-syllable mantra, to learn it slowly. Some people learn by going through the whole mantra over and over, and some people learn from a few lines at a time and memorizing in that way. Most important, actually, is the purification process of the white nectar. The Vajrasattva is our support. Vajrasattva making a commitment to be our support, and remembering that as we do Vajrasattva practice, it is for present time, it is for past time, and we're paving the way for our future time. So it's for all time is the Vajrasattva practice. And I know that I've been in situations, I was on a long bus ride, and so I had a mala with me, and I did Vajrasattva practice on the long bus ride. And sometimes we find ourselves waiting. That's a really good time to learn Vajrasattva practice and to remember to maybe bring a little cheat sheet for the Vajrasattva practice until it's learned and memorized. And then for those doing the accumulations, the 100-syllable mantra is one of the accumulations. So doing the Vajrasattva mantra 100,000 times is part of that. Doing our refuge 100,000 times is part of that. The prostrations are part of that. And these accumulations begin to open inner doors. And it's a lot of it is what's called self-secret, which is a kind of funny word because everything is really known within our own hearts. But somehow when we do practice, that which is latent becomes to the surface, and then we're able to reach a deeper aspect of ourselves, of our awakened state, And that's what we have to offer to all that we meet. It's helpful to have Dharma friends, people who are also practicing, such as when we come together as a group. Said that when one person is practicing, it's a beneficial energy for other people. The Buddha always used to talk about the sandalwood tree in the forest, and the beautiful scent would affect all of the trees. And so we want to be that person. We want to be that sandalwood tree. So we will end our practice for this evening so that we can take our questions. And our questions are something between all of us. It is not put on the recordings. And so we'll do our closing if we can. If we have Dharma to do our closing, perhaps.
Yes, I am here. One moment, please. I'm having a technical difficulty.
Would you like for me to do that?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, sure. And actually, I had the thought that I wanted to share one thing with you, which actually is not usually shared until the end, but I just had such a strong feeling to share it with you. And those of you who've done the ninja practice and so forth know this very well. And it's called the recitation after dedication. And because we've been working with the deity Vajrasattva is why I wanted to share it, came to mind to share with everybody. So this is the recitation after dedication. For a long time, it was only in Tibetan and then got translated. Things, sounds, minds are gods, mantras, true form, kayas and wisdom in endless play. Through this profound, secret practice, be one with the one taste, heart, Tiglay.
I have the closing prayer if you'd like me to do that.
I've got it. By this good, may I swiftly once become a great guru, lead all beings, everyone, to reach to that very ground. Thank you.